Elvis Presley wasn't just a king of rock and roll, he was the king of cars. From pink Cadillacs to bullet-scarred sports machines, Elvis's garage was more than chrome and horsepower. It was a mirror of his fame, generosity, and larger-than-life persona. Today, we open those garage doors. When we think of Elvis Presley, we think of the swiveling hips, the electrifying voice, and the glittering jumpsuits that defined the generation. But Elvis was more than music. He was a man who adored the open road, whose love affair with cars became as iconic as his songs. For Elvis, cars weren't just metal and wheels, they were freedom. Growing up poor in Tupelo, Mississippi, cars represented everything he dreamed of: escape, independence, and a taste of luxury far removed from his humble beginnings. When success finally arrived, Elvis didn't just buy cars, he collected them like trophies of a life he once thought impossible. But there was more than indulgence in his passion. Elvis's generosity was legendary. He was known to give cars to friends, family, and even strangers. A Cadillac wasn't just a ride, it was his way of saying, "I see you. You matter." For him, cars were both gifts of love and symbols of identity. And the stories, they're unforgettable. One car went up, another was kissed into infamy, and one unlucky Pantera was shot by Elvis himself when it reached the start. These cars tell stories of joy, rebellion, love, and even frustration, the human side of the king. So let's take a ride together. From his very first Lincoln Zephyr to the Ferrari he drove in his final years. Here's a countdown of Elvis's most legendary cars, the machines that mirrored the man behind the music. John Deere 4010, tractor. Not every vehicle in Elvis's collection was flashy. At Graceland, Elvis often escaped the spotlight by climbing onto his John Deere 4010 tractor. With a 6-cylinder engine producing around 84 horsepower, it wasn't built for speed. It was built for peace. Neighbors recalled seeing him mowing his lawn or working the grounds himself, dressed down and far removed from the glitter of Hollywood. The tractor symbolized his grounding side, a man who needed simple tasks to quiet his restless spirit. Today, the John Deere still rests at Graceland, a reminder that even the king of rock and roll needed a dose of country calm. 1969 Mercedes-Benz 280 SL. Pagoda Elvis had a soft spot for elegance, and this Mercedes proved it. Nicknamed Pagoda for its unique concave roofline, the 280 SL was sleek yet understated. Under the hood, it housed a 2.8-liter inline-six, offering 170 horsepower and a top speed of 124 mph. But the true story lies in who received it. Elvis gifted this car to Priscilla Presley, his great love. For her, it wasn't just a gift, it was a gesture of devotion, a rolling symbol of their bond. Today, the car's association with Elvis and Priscilla makes it one of the most cherished vehicles in Presley history, preserved as a timeless reminder of that complicated, enduring love. 1942 Lincoln Zephyr, Elvis's very first car, a milestone in itself. This Lincoln Zephyr wasn't bought by him, but given by his father, Vernon Presley. For a young Elvis just beginning to dream of bigger things, this car represented independence and a family sacrifice. With its V12 engine and flowing Art Deco design, the Zephyr was stylish and powerful for its time. Elvis drove it proudly, often showing it off around Memphis. Though the car itself has been lost to time, the memory of the Zephyr remains as the humble first step in Elvis's lifelong journey with automobiles. In 1948, Chevrolet Fleetmaster panel wagon nicknamed his escape car, the Chevrolet was one of the earliest symbols of Elvis's drive to break free. The Fleetmaster came with a 216 cubic inch inline-six engine, producing about 90 horsepower, modest. But to Elvis, it felt like liberation. This was the car he used to travel for gigs and to get away from small-town life. To him, it wasn't just a ride. It was the vehicle that carried him toward his future. Sadly, the original Fleetmaster no longer exists, but its legacy as Elvis's getaway car is immortal. Showered in 1954, Cadillac Fleetwood, pink Cadillac now she won for the car that became legend. Elvis's first pink Cadillac was a 1954 Fleetwood, painted in a striking shade of pink that screamed individuality. With its 331 cubic inch V8, it had the power to match its flair. But tragedy struck. The car caught fire and burned while Elvis was touring. Instead of giving up, he bought another Cadillac and painted it pink again. This began the legend of Elvis's pink Cadillacs, forever tied to his. Today, that first pink Cadillac is remembered as a symbol of resilience, the King's ability to turn loss into legend. And 1955 Cadillac Fleetwood, a 60. I'll give to his mother. Perhaps the most famous car in Elvis. After the first pink Cadillac burned, Elvis bought this 1955 Fleetwood 60 and had it repainted pink. But this one he gave to the important in his life, his mother, Gladys. Though she didn't drive, Elvis wanted her to have the best. With its V8 engine, power steering, and luxurious interior, the Cadillac became a symbol of Elvis's love and gratitude. Today, the pink Fleetwood is preserved at Graceland, one of the most iconic cars in music history. Whoa, wait a minute. 1955 Cadillac Fleetwood, 75 limousine. When Elvis hit the road with his band, the Blue Moon Boys, he needed space. The Cadillac Fleetwood 75 limousine, with seating for up to 9, became their touring chariot. Powered by a 250 horsepower V8, it had both room and presence. Fans would often chase the limo, desperate for a glimpse of the rising star. It wasn't just a car, it was a rolling stage carrying Elvis from one life-changing gig to another. The limo now rests in Graceland, representing the early days when Elvis and his band were redefining American music. And 1956 Lincoln Premier. The 1956 Lincoln Premier was a car of bold lines and big personality, exactly like its owner. With a 285 horsepower V8, automatic transmission, and luxury features, it was one of the most advanced cars of its day. But what makes this car unforgettable is not its specs, it's the kisses. After Elvis performed, fans would surround the Premier and cover it in lipstick marks. The car became a canvas of devotion, dripping with the love and obsession of his fans. Elvis never minded, he laughed it off, knowing the car was an extension of his fame. The Premier has since been restored and remains part of Elvis lore, a machine baptized by the passion his followers. The 1956 Lincoln Continental, marked if the Cadillac was Elvis's car. The Lincoln Continental Mark II was his car of prestige. This model was ultra luxury, hand-built, and priced at nearly $10,000, a fortune in the 1950s. Only about 3,000 were ever made. With a 285 horsepower V8 and tailored interior, the Mark II was sleek sophistication. For Elvis, it was proof that he had arrived, not just as a star, but as an American icon. Driving it through Memphis turned heads everywhere. Today, it's remembered as one of his boldest statements. Elvis wasn't just famous, he was important. 1956 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz. This was Elvis at his most flamboyant. His 1956 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz wasn't just purple. It had white convertible trim and fur carpeting. Under the hood, a 305 horsepower V8 made it as powerful as it was flashy. Elvis loved this car because it turned heads. He'd roll through Memphis with music blasting, crowds gathering just to catch a glimpse. The Eldorado wasn't subtle. It was the automotive version of a sequined jumpsuit. Today, the Biarritz is preserved at Graceland. Visitors marvel at its outrageous style, perfectly capturing the excess and glamour of the king himself. Known than 60 Rolls-Royce Phantom. Vivaled when Elvis returned from his army service in Germany, he wanted something that announced his global stature. Enter the 1960 Rolls-Royce Phantom V, a car fit for royalty. Powered by a 6.2-liter V8, with a smooth ride that only Rolls could deliver, the Phantom was the ultimate in luxury. It featured fine leather, lambswool rugs, and even a telephone inside. Elvis often used the Phantom to chauffeur family and friends, a sign of his generosity. Today, it stands as proof that Elvis wasn't just America's king, he was world royalty. 1966 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud. If the Phantom was Elvis's showpiece, the Silver Cloud was his understated gem. Powered by a 6.2-liter V8, it balanced elegance with power. Fewer than 3,000 of these were made, making it rare even by Rolls standards. Elvis purchased his Silver Cloud at the height of his fame, a choice that reflected refinement. Unlike the flamboyant Cadillacs, this was a car of maturity, a statement that Elvis was not just a star, but a gentleman. Today, the Silver Cloud remains a prized collector's item, tied forever to his sophisticated side. In 1969 Mercedes-Benz 600. The Mercedes-Benz 600 was known as the dictator car, favored by world leaders like Mao Zedong and John Lennon. Elvis, of course, had to have one. With a 6.3-liter V8 producing 250 horsepower, it was powerful and imposing. Hydraulic features powered everything, from windows to seats to the trunk. It was extravagance engineered. Elvis used the 600 as his statement of global stature. He was no longer just a rock star. He was on par with world power. Today it sits as one of his most iconic vehicles, embodying pure dominance. 1971. De Tomaso Pantera. Few cars carry a story as wild as this one. The 1971 De Tomaso Pantera was an Italian-American sports car with a Ford 351 V8 engine delivering around 330 horsepower. It was sleek, fast, and exotic, but Elvis? He had a problem with it. One day, the Pantera refused to start. Frustrated, Elvis pulled out a gun and shot the car. Bullet holes pierced the sleek bodywork. Instead of hiding the damage, the car became legendary. Today, that very Pantera, with its bullet holes intact, sits in Graceland. It's a raw human story. Even kings lose patience. 1971 Stutz Blackhawk. If one car was the Elvis car, it was the Stutz Blackhawk. Elvis bought the very first production model in 1971. With its handcrafted Italian design, leather interior, and gold trim, it was one of the most extravagant cars ever built. The Blackhawk packed a 400-folded 25 horsepower Pontiac V8 under its long hood. Elvis drove it proudly, often arriving at concerts at Stutz, fans swarming to get a glimpse. Owning the first ever Blackhawk added to its mystique. Today it's remembered as Elvis's personal favorite, a car as bold and unforgettable as its owner. And 1973 Cadillac Eldorado. The 1973, Vernon Presley gave Elvis a Cadillac Eldorado for his birthday. The car, with its 500 cubic inch V8, symbolized both luxury and family. Though Elvis already had a fleet of Cadillacs, this one was special. It was a gift from his father. He cherished it, often using it for quiet rides around Memphis. The Eldorado remains in Graceland as a touching reminder that even the king valued simple tokens of love. 1975 Ferrari Dino 308. GT4 at the very top sits the Ferrari Dino 308G. The sleek Italian exotic was unlike anything else in Elvis' garage. Powered by a mid-mounted 3.0-liter V8 producing 250 horsepower, it was nimble, sharp, and undeniably stylish. The Dino wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Elvis had already surrounded himself with American luxury, but the Dino was different. It carried the elegance of European design combined with the thrill of a true sports car. Its wedge-shaped body, designed by Bertone, was a departure from the rounded, chrome-heavy vehicles he was known for. It signaled a new level of sophistication in his collection. Elvis reportedly fell in love with the Dino the moment he saw it. He was drawn to its balance of performance and design. Unlike other cars in his garage that screamed extravagance, the Dino offered a subtler, refined allure. Its lightweight chassis allowed for agile handling, making it perfect for spirited drives through California's coastal roads or Memphis Street. The car also reflected Elvis's evolving taste. By the mid-1970s, he wasn't just a king of rock and roll. He was a man of the world. The Dino symbolized his exposure to international culture and his willingness to embrace the best from beyond America. Owning a Ferrari placed him among a global elite. Yet he didn't flaunt it excessively. He appreciated it quietly. Personal stories from the era describe Elvis taking close friends and family for rides in a Dino, showing off his smooth handling and thrilling acceleration. It became one of the few cars where he could feel the raw joy of driving without the glare of fans and photographers. The connection was personal, almost intimate, a moment of escape from fame's relentless spotlight. Tragically, the Dino also represents one of the final chapters of his life. Purchased not long before his untimely death in 1977, it serves as a poignant reminder that even in his last years, Elvis's passions remain vivid. The car's presence in his collection shows that despite health struggles and personal pressures, he still sought excitement, beauty, and a sense of freedom. Today, the Ferrari Dino 308 GT4 stands as a crown jewel in Graceland's automotive collection. Visitors marvel at its design and engineering, imagining the king behind the wheel, smiling at the sheer thrill of the ride. The Dino is more than a car. It is a testament to Elvis's enduring love for innovation, style, and the pure joy of driving. Even at the peak of fame, he never lost his, proving that the king's passion is dynamic as music. So, what do Elvis Presley's cars tell us of the man behind the myth? They tell us he was more than a rock star. He was a dreamer, a giver, and a man of contradictions. From the humble Lincoln Zephyr, given by his father, to the Ferrari Dino that capped his collection, Elvis's cars mirrored his journey. They represented escape from poverty, the joy of success, and the desire to live life on his own terms. Each car carried a story, a memory of a tour, a gift to a loved one, or a moment of pure rebellion. The pink Cadillac wasn't just a vehicle. It was a symbol of generosity, a tangible representation of his heartfelt affection for those around him. The Lincoln Premier, covered in lipstick mark, reflected his deep connection, a reminder that he was not just a performer, but a figure whose presence inspired love and devotion. They also revealed his heart. Few celebrities have given away cars the way Elvis. He once bought Cadillacs just to hand the keys to strangers who would never forget that day. To Elvis, cars were love letters on wheels, gifts that said, "I want you to feel the joy I feel." In those acts, we see his humanity, his desire to share happiness in a tangible way. Every vehicle he chose, whether luxurious or practical, spoke of his personality, his emotions, and his values. Some cars revealed his frustration. The Pantera with its bullet holes shows us a man overwhelmed by pressure, sometimes losing patience in the face of mechanical rebellion. Others revealed his grounding side, like the John Deere tractor, which allowed him to step away from the noise of fame and reconnect with something real, something simple. In that sense, his collection was not just about style or status. It was about balance between indulgence and responsibility, excitement and peace, public persona and private man. Together, they form a portrait of Elvis not as a perfect icon, but as a human being. A man who wanted to be generous, stylish, and who sometimes wrestled with the very things he loved. Every scratch, every custom paint job, every story etched into the history of these cars gives us insight into his mind, his feelings, and his life. Even today, decades after his passing, visitors to Graceland marvel at these. They're not just vehicles, they are artifacts. They carry the fingerprints of a man who changed culture forever. Fans from around the world come to see them, to imagine what it would feel like to sit behind the wheel of a machine that the king himself won. In many ways, the cars continue his story, preserving his spirit in steel, leather, and chrome. And maybe that's why Elvis's cars matter. Because just like his music, they were bold, beautiful, flawed, and unforgettable. They remind us that the king lived loudly, loved deeply, and left behind not just songs but stories on wheels. They remind us that success does not diminish humanity. It enhances it when shared with generosity and heart. So now the question, if you could take one Elvis ride for a spin, which would it? The flashy pink Cadillac full of charisma and history? The sleek Ferrari Dino echoing the elegance and thrill of Italy? Or maybe even the down-to-earth John Deere tractor reflecting the king's connection with his roots? Whatever your choice, one thing is certain. Every ride with Elvis was legendary. A journey through the life of a man who defied convention, embraced passion, and left a legacy that extends far beyond music and into the very roads he traveled. Thanks for cruising through Elvis Presley's incredible car collection. If you love this ride, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of legendary cars, iconic stars, and unforgettable history. Which Elvis car would you take for a spin? Let us know in the comments below.